Watch the whole video to find all the hidden anime girls. People who let their mom count to 0. What happened after? The chase of a lifetime that ended in a red hot posterior. She was paddling me with a small, handled wooden cutting board, but it split along the grain, and I made the mistake of laughing, so she grabbed a wooden spoon. My grandma got so very pissed a couple of my cousins once that she started throwing whatever she could get her hands on. Shiz, spoons, brushes, but they were dancing around so much trying to dodge that they burst out laughing. This only pissed her off more, and their brother decided to help her out by bringing the stuff she threw back to her, so she never ran out of ammo, but this only made them laugh harder, while simultaneously yelling at him to stop. They reached a stalemate when they all got tired to carry on. Bold of you to assume that they are alive to tell their story. She started counting to negative numbers. I think mine did fractions. 1/2. 1/4. I had my sister's Hello Kitty belt imprint left on my ass. I'm gonna count again. 5. 4. Hardest thing as a parent is following through on punishing these kids you love more than anything else in the world. She was bluffing, but only the first time. I'll never know. She got to 7, and, being the resident smartass, I said, "Oh cool, showing off again, mom." That went real well for me. I think it was a fair enough question. Seriously, what number was she aiming for / or what number did she start at? My ears are still ringing. Seriously, I got a minor case of tinnitus. 100%. It was my grandma, because mom didn't give warnings like that. Grandma is tiny, so we didn't worry. Normally we would step in line at 2. Once, AO and 13, I decided to stand my ground and her little arm made contact with the side of my head with the speed of a timber rattler. That day was rough. We learned that running from her was much more effective. Then, she learned that we were not worthy of warnings. I woke up in the back of a wagon heading to Skyrim. Hey, you're finally awake. Tried it once. She gave a defeated sigh, then chuckled. Then she said something like, "You're getting too old." That was the day I became a man. I'll never forget my 32nd birthday. My grandma spanked a friend of my mom and dad's for chasing us through her garden. She called his name, he came over, she said turn around, and whipped his ass in front of his wife. He was 35. Never chased us through the garden again, and he loved telling that story. She smiled and embraced me. "You've passed the test," she said. "You are a man now." The next day I woke up, and I was a plumber with 20 years experience. Did you befriend a royalty with bunch of chain smoking tiny guys with mushroom hats afterwards? Half of my respiratory organs were destroyed. Not my mother, because she rarely disciplined me and my siblings, but my grandma. Oh no. When I went to 0, I got her classic little old Asian lady move. A sock filled with pennies thrown at me at speeds I never thought possible. Shit hurted. Every time your kids swear out a penny in your sock and soon you'll have a weapon to be. Pussies. My mom started at 0. Badass. Yes, well, it was quite bad after the beating. Wooden spoon impact. Horribly slow murder with a spoon. This is Reddit, not a Ouija board. H-E-L-P. Goodbye. She yelled my name real loud, and daddy said, "Why don't you ever do that for me?" My mom went from 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. You know what a Switch is, and I'm not talking about Nintendo. Everything goes black and the last thing I see is my mother's slipper speeding toward me. It's funny how they can make getting hit by fuzzy pink slipper feel like getting hit by a Mack truck. Moms never get to 0. There's fractions out there you can't even imagine. 1 and 9/2. She slapped the soul out of my body and it ricocheted back in me. She reset me to the factory settings. I used to not know what would happen when I counted to 10. My son has let me get there once, and it ended with me literally wrestling him into his pajamas and him going to bed without getting to read any books. He was very upset, and I felt like a terrible person, but he hasn't let me go past 7 since that day. Hahaha, this kind of mom I am. I really don't know why people do all that abusive stuff. It's just that they lose their freedom or something, or cannot join the rest of the family. Luckily most normal kids read the room. and know when to listen. My eldest is a special ed kid and has some problems with boundaries and stuff. So I have had plenty of time/exercise in thinking about appropriate consequences. I have to be very consistent with him. Other two kids react when I start counting. They sometimes need some fractions, but they rarely need to feel consequences luckily. It hurt until 2005, but I felt like a special someone in 2006. I never got in trouble, but my sister did. She let my mother count to 0. She just got shouted at. My sister ran upstairs crying. She said my full name and threatened to count down from 5 next time. I died. Did you die? Yes, but I lived. The Big Bang. Isn't that how you were made? You are ducking done followed by my entire name, with emphasis on my middle, followed by an ass beating I still remember 15 years later. Weaklings. My mother would count after I was already whooped to give me time to stop crying, or I'll be whooped again. Well, I'm currently typing this from my dungeon. Please send help. I don't have much time. Oh shit, here she comes. Help. Note, this is a joke. Please don't call 911. I did get my ass beat with the chancla though. No one who let their mom get to 0 is around to tell the tale. This is Alex's mother here posting. I'm posting on his behalf as I counted to 0. He did not survive. My mom counted up, and if I wasn't making moves, she suddenly became a sloth. 1, 2, you better move your butt. 2.5. I was a pussy. I never let her get to 3. Am I the only one whose mom counted to 3? It wasn't really my mom, but more of my dad. He will count from 3 down, and when I started being a prince I will sit there and stare blankly at him. When he made it to 0 he started to take off his belt, and after that, well, there is a reason I was the fastest runner in my class. The doctor diagnosed her with dyscalculia. Ask my oxygen tank. I got a privilege taken away. After that would come immediate buyer's remorse. I'd do whatever it was she had wanted me to do in the first place, cry and beg. And I never ever got her to reverse her decision. My mom's a tough cookie, and it took me way too long to catch on lol. I guess I wasn't exactly the brightest child. I had 4 bones broken, few bruises, and I'm missing couple of teeth. I hope this is a joke. Same do I. I'm typing this from the grave. This is what happened. 3, 2, 1, 0. The sound of a belt coming undone through the loops of pants frightened me. Or thrashing with the thickest heaviest leather belt she owned. Happened all too often. The bruises fade, but memories last forever. I have 2 kids of my own now, and in 13 years of parenting, haven't resorted to violence once. She chased me, and I pallet stunned her. Can someone please explain what is going on? Have you ever heard a parent say you better stop doing that? Then they will start counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They are asking about the consequences when the kid didn't listen to mom and kept doing whatever they were told to stop. The counting down thing is a very universal parent thing, in US at least. Can't believe it took so long scrolling through absolute inanity to get to some actual context. Your parents counted. Short story time. Raised in a nation household, near Tiger Mom, all that stuff. Can't even remember what it is exactly I did to set her off, but she turns on her usual rage face and starts staring me down. Next thing I know she tells me to go to her room and grab her leather belt, and that I have 5 seconds to get it, or else shit is gonna happen. For the first time in my life, I decided to take a stand. First I told her I didn't want to because I'll just get hurt, but the countdown continued, and by the time she reached 1 I laid down a flat and calm no. She tried to hide it, but I can tell she was absolutely stunned. You know that saying I wasn't thinking that far ahead? If you were to translate that into a facial expression then you'll get her face at that moment. After about another 5 seconds of silence she just told me to go to my room. I learned 2 things that day. It might not always pay off, but it's always better to try and stand up for yourself. Lock your doors, because the fight ain't ever over. She threw a flashbang into my room then proceed to whip me with her belt. Did I mention she was military? Oh lord, she common. Comment what the best or worst story was. Also remember to subscribe for more Reddit and anime girls.